For our final talk of this block, yet another lightning talk, we're going to be welcoming to the stage Stanley W. Baxton, who is a solo dev who makes narrative games for exactly 3 people to lose their minds, which is great. Love making games for specific people. His works are usually satirical, horrifying, or queer, and sometimes all of those at once, and in his spare time he likes spending inordinate amounts of money on occult texts and getting mad about people who've been dead for hundreds of years. So, here to talk to us about real-world occultism and how to bring it into your games without being accidentally racist, we have Stanley. So, we're going to take it away.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So, hey, welcome to my talk, bringing real-world occultism into your games without accidentally being racist. Content warning, we're going to be going into a little on anti-Semitism, racism, and Nazi ideology. Not too deeply, but take heed if these are sensitive topics for you. So, my name is Stanley, and I primarily make text-heavy narrative games. These hit a variety of topics and genres, and most importantly for this talk, I've spent far too much money on books, specifically books about the occult. And these often make their way into my games. And to flex to a very select group of people, there you go. To answer why I'm actually here, I'd like everyone in the audience, go open your games library, Steam, itch, whatever, and see how long it takes you to hit a game that features magic. It's practically embedded into the medium itself. Consider how ubiquitous magic points for casting spells is. Magic, more importantly, inspiration from, quote, the real thing. It's rampant. It's everywhere. So that begs the question of what's the problem with this? I'm going to create a hypothetical based on something I've seen many times. You are a horror dev and wanting to make your game stand out. You aren't going to do what everyone else has done. You're going to add real magic into your game. So you do very intense and rigorous research, and eventually you come across this. And it's spooky, isn't it? And this is a real symbol used by real actual wizards. It's not something like just one of the artists made up. This is great. It's terrifying. You pack up your game, ship it, and uh-oh, you've just done something anti-Semitic. Now, I should hope the reaction from most people in the crowd is, oh dear God, no, I did not intend that. How do I fix this? And that's what I'm here to talk about. So let's find out how this happened. First off, if you go searching for real magic on the internet, you're going to get a bunch of resources on Western Esoterica. To define this crudely, you know it when you see it. It's a bunch of magic traditions in the Western world that syncretize with each other, creating this loose collective of practices that we call Western Esoterica. That brings us to the question of what a magic tradition is. These are bodies of practice, beliefs, magic workings that a group of people partake in, and they usually have their roots in a specific culture. The important part there is that many of these traditions grow out of specific cultures. And that's the critical takeaway, that Western Esoterica has a history of cultural appropriation. Now, to fully get into the history of how this happened and why with context will take far more time than we have. So I'm deploying a special technique for this talk. When you see this image, there is an explanation and history, but we do not have the time right now. And if you want to know, you can catch me after the talk. So, crash course, I'm about to introduce you to 2 of the most influential and enduring figures of Western Esoterica. First, the beast himself, Aleister Crowley. He was born 1875, and he is most well known for creating the very popular magic system and religion known as the Lema. Crowley was a racist and anti-Semite, a sexist and Orientalist and Nazi sympathizer until they banned his religion, and many more we don't have time for. He continued the tradition of stealing from Kabbalah, a branch of Jewish mysticism, and the problem with Crowley, he was very good at what he did and very good at spreading his concepts. And I need to stress that the Golden Dawn, the basis of what Thelema came from, this is Western ceremonial magic. You cannot study, practice anything without at least becoming acquainted with Crowley. And often people engage with this system or take inspiration from it while being completely ignorant of any of its sources. Now, the second, we have Helena Blavatsky. She was born 1831, and she's most well known for being the founder of Theosophy. I could get into what this is, but instead I'm just going to quote someone. The first rich white woman to go to Tibet and claim she was taught ancient secrets and became a grifter influencer. And I need to stress the first part of that. She was genuinely the only person from the West who had this alleged contact with Eastern mystics. And spoiler warning, she didn't. She just made shit up. Either she pretended she was in contact with nebulous gurus, or someone in Tibet was as much of a grifter as she was. Stopgap tour of the stuff that specifically Blavatsky inspired, the continued fetishization of Eastern mysticism, entirely misrepresenting it, the appropriation of chakras, entirely divorced from Hinduism, almost the entire foundation of the New Age movement and its racist aesthetics, continued pushing of conspiracy theories around Atlantis and ancient civilizations, the idea of the lost continent that held an advanced race that beget the global south because there's no way they could be as smart as white people, the idea of a spiritually higher race and the popularization of the Aryan race, the main influence of Nazi occultism and Ariosophy, and she influenced so much more. She is everywhere. And finally, the crowning jewel of all of this is Christianity, the influences it had on European thought, and how it interacted with other traditions around the world. Western Esoterica is a bit of a minefield, and not many people know this. People take occult symbols that they'll see everywhere to put into games, comics, novels, whatever, and they'll have no idea where they're from. The occult is intentionally occluded. It's not supposed to be something that you learn about easily. So let's talk about how we can combat this. I'm going into this assuming that you're just here because you want some inspiration, primarily aesthetic, from real life, or want like some nice nod to the real thing. The first thing we need to define is an open and closed tradition. In general, an open tradition is one that can be practiced by anyone, and its symbology is free to adapt and transform. A closed tradition is one that requires initiation or invitation to practice and usually to represent. Most closed traditions are ethno-religions, that being a religion that's heavily tied to a specific culture, often to the point that divorcing it strips it away anything meaningful from it. Inversely, most open traditions are one that are encouraged to spread, usually ones that proselytize as well. There may be schisms within open traditions that then end up being closed, and that can make the whole thing quite complex. This is a very generalized thing. It's a very fluid system, but it's generally a good starting point to go from. If you want to represent a closed tradition in your game or in any sort of media, you almost always need permission or to do it in a very specific way. And often, if you ask for permission, people are going to say no. Practices are closed for a reason, and most of the time, that reason is disrespect from colonizers. Equally, however, you still need to consider context if you're taking from open traditions. Consider some of the ones that I put onto open traditions and remember that everything is political. Right, as a quick exercise, we're going to go back to that symbol we saw at the beginning. That guy in the very middle, which some of you may know, is Baphomet. Baphomet has a very interesting history as well as plenty of symbolism behind it. But the source of that symbolism is very much open. It's inspired by Hermeticism, a Greco-Egyptian mystic tradition, which is open for anyone to practice. The culprit of why using this symbol will be appropriative is here. These are Hebrew letters. Hebrew is the sacred language of Judaism, and it features very heavily in Jewish magic. Importantly, Jewish magic isn't for outsiders to use and practice. We shouldn't be using this as some nebulous, spooky symbol because it's disrespectful to how important those letters are. But as you might have guessed from the name of this symbol, this isn't a Jewish symbol. Western Esoterica absolutely loves messing with Hebrew letters specifically. This is awful from an appropriation view, but does give us a good rule of thumb. If you see Hebrew letters on an occult symbol, it's something you should avoid for either of those reasons. And genuinely, if you follow this one rule, you will probably dodge about 80% of appropriation in Western Esoterica. It is seriously that bad. So let's wrap this up. What I hope I've taught you today in quite a condensed amount of time. Western magic traditions have a long history of cultural appropriation, often from cultures that are still alive and thriving today. Many things online are from those closed cultures. Often we're not taken from them with consent, or are so different from the original that it's not even close to what it actually was, sometimes to the point where it's just insulting. There are rules of thumb to avoid the more egregious cases like we saw on the previous slide, but there is never going to be a paint by numbers solution to this. There will always be context and edge cases to account for. Something to ask yourself, and if you take anything, really take this: why do you want to use that symbol? Does it just look cool? If you're using something to represent an idea or concept, is that idea what the symbol actually represents or what others have decided that it means? To find that out, talk to people. Talk to people from minority religions and how they want their practices to be depicted, if at all. If someone doesn't want to share their culture with you, respect them. There's plenty of other cultures who are more than willing to share if you're polite. And if you'd like some further reading on this, the whole idea of appropriation within magic, I cannot stress enough how FYMA, A Lesser Key by Ezra Rose is. It goes much deeper into that appropriation of Jewish magic, which is unfortunately foundational to a lot of Western Esoterica, and it's written by a Jewish practitioner. And if you'd left this wanting to learn more about magic itself, the YouTube channel Esoterica, everyone raves about Dr. Justin Sledge, for good reason, one of the best sources we have on Western Esoterica right now. What Magic Is This? A podcast. I don't fully agree with all of Bachelor's takes, but if you want to get an introduction to a topic with a reading list, I do recommend it. And finally, C.T. Kelly, who I quoted earlier. Honestly, the reason I'm sat here giving this talk, they're hilarious. You can learn a ton just by following them. And they're currently writing an introductory book on magic, so keep an eye out. And that is it from me. I've been Stanley Baxton. I'll continue to be Stanley Baxton. And hopefully now you can bring real-world occultism into your games with a sharper critical eye. If you want to chat in depth about any of this, catch me in the breakout rooms later. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. I think, yeah, impressive job fitting a lot into a short slot, and great to have those follow-up links. We'll make sure that, for one thing, when we put these on YouTube, that those links are all accessible, and people could drop them in the obelisk if they want. But yeah, we'll make sure those are available, and wonderful. We probably have time for potentially a couple questions, if that's all right with you, Stanley.
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
Cool. The one question that we have right now is just someone who needs to know what that book you showed at the beginning of Deflex was.
Okay, so that's the Azoisha by Andrew Chumbley, and it's a book. Oh God, this is going to take a lot of context, but basically, it's a book about sabbatic witchcraft, which is like this specific brand of witchcraft that Andrew Chumbley pioneered. And the best way I can explain it is that it's chaos magic for really pretentious people. And that specific book can sell for over $1,000. I managed to snag it for 200, and that's my double flex, is the fact that I own that book and that I managed to get it so cheap. So that's the flex.
Wonderful. Yes, we appreciate esoteric flex at Roguelike Celebration. Cool. One thing that I saw come up in chat is, and I'm just curious if you have thoughts in terms of, so, obviously that kind of distinction between open and closed, and thinking about the origin of different, practices, but also talking about diaspora and the way that you can have ways that religions and practices get tied up in that difference too, of like people who've moved in that culture to other places, and whether or not the way that that gets tied up in colonialism. Just curious if you have any thoughts related to diasporic kind of religions and practices and appropriation.
Yeah, it's definitely a complex one, because you often find a lot of those diasporic practices. One of the ones that comes to mind is Santeria, and that's something that's syncretized with the exact geographical region, but Central America. That's the one. It's syncretized with practices within Central America, and it was basically a way for indigenous people in Central America to hide or mask their religion while basically pretending it was Catholicism. So it's a case of like, well, it's technically Catholicism on paper, but it's really this very specific and niche way that these people are practicing that religion. It's really a case of, like I say, there's no real paint by numbers solution to any of this. It's a matter of talking to practitioners, really doing a deep dive on why it came about. And if you do want to represent it, like there's many Santeria practitioners alive, I'm sure many of them will be very willing to chat and discuss it, and many of them might even want to like pop up in whatever game you're doing yourself. So that's really the takeaway, is just talk to people, because 90% of this could be avoided if people just talk to each other.
Yeah, no, makes sense. Fantastic. One other question, because I think it's a good one. Are there examples you can think of games that you think have navigated Western esotericism well?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'd say in general, and I'd say less that it uses it, but the idea of like occult ideas and how it integrates into the game, I'd say Fallen London is a good one. And I think Fallen London gets away with it because it's set before Crowley was born, so it manages to skip all of like that appropriation by just he doesn't exist. But whenever you see like magic or inspiration from real world magic, it's usually tied in a way that it's a special nod, like if you know, you know, and that kind of like dodges the thing of, oh, I understand why you didn't do the full reference to this because obviously you don't want to put that very racist thing in here. Or it's a case of, oh, you've taken this and transformed the core idea of it, but you've taken it into a completely different direction.
Excellent. Great. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Stanley. We appreciate you sharing with the conference and yeah, such a informative, packed 15 minutes. So
Thank you.